What is the Matrix? Right, I mean, we all know the quote, Morpheus says the Matrix is everywhere, it is all around us, even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window, when you turn on your television, you can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. So Neo says, what truth? So Morpheus says that you are a slave, Neo. You are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, into a prison that you cannot taste or see or touch. A prison for your mind. Now, doesn't that contradict what he's saying there? He's saying a prison that you cannot taste, touch, or see. But he's saying at the same time, he says the Matrix is all around us. Even now in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window, when you turn on your television. But he says you can't see it. You're born into bondage, into a prison that you cannot taste or see or touch. He says, but you can feel it when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. So you can feel it, it's there and you can see it. But you can't at the same time because it's a prison for your mind. So you have been mind controlled, right? Not to really see it. It's there, you can see it, but you don't understand what it is. You do not know that you are a slave. Or I would say that you are a potential slave, right? Because you always have the potential to wake up, right? And to access your freedom. Now, what is freedom, right? Freedom is knowing who you are, in very short. Freedom is having a healthy relationship with oneself, because the keys to freeing anyone from their cell is not external, it's not outside, it's within, right? It's an inside job. It's an inside operation. And that's not really, I wanted to get into that talk now, but the kingdom of heaven lies within all the resources that we need. The more you have a relationship with yourself, with your own truth, the more you can see what is untrue in the world. The more that you have a sincere relationship with yourself, the more you can have a sincere relationship with others in the world. You have an internal compass which can tell you, right, when you're in touch with who you truly are, what is good and what is bad. You really can. It is subjective to a certain degree, okay? You can tell what is healthy and what is not when you are healthy, when you know what is health to you and your body is healthy, or your mind is put to a certain degree, or you know what health is. Then you can see what is healthy in the world. But if you do not know what's unhealthy in yourself, in general, whatever way you want to say, then you don't know. You don't know what job you want to do if you don't know yourself. You don't know the person that you want to marry, or even if you want to get married, if you don't know yourself. I think one of the biggest scams, and this is not a discussion for now, is marriage. I think it's for very, very few people, and it's a whole nother discussion, but I think it's a man-made contract to a large degree, and that's for another discussion. But we don't know what we are capable of. We don't know if we can play the guitar if we've never picked it up, or that we have a musical talent if we've never picked up an instrument. And in this world, we are cut off from expressing, allowing, and exploring ourselves and who we are. Right, so what the Matrix is to keep you a prisoner, a slave, and unconscious. Now, we can say, why is that? Why is there a purpose for the Matrix? Why does the Matrix exist? Isn't it a real deterrent? Isn't it a real just demonic force? Isn't it really just unnecessary? Isn't it just, it shouldn't be here. It shouldn't exist. And at the same time, we should say, well, evil shouldn't exist, bad things shouldn't exist, injustices shouldn't exist. It's not okay, it shouldn't exist, it's not right. I think the Matrix knows very well what it does. The point of the Matrix is to keep us asleep from our divinity, asleep from activating our freedom of choice. Like, what is freedom of speech, right, that is so much under attack? What is freedom of movement that is so much under attack? Freedom of expression that is so much under attack? It's freedom. It's consciousness. It's a war on consciousness. And the more that you can keep humanity unconscious, the more the Matrix is doing their job. Right? And the Matrix is the necessary predator, unfortunately, but it's just the way that it goes. That the Matrix is the necessary predator for humankind, for humanity. Humanity doesn't really have anymore a predator that can really, keep the levels low. See where I'm going here? As humanity, we have the technology, we have the guns, we have what it takes to fend nature off, right? We're not going to land up being eaten by a lion or a bear or something like that, although lions have a natural fear of man, but it is possible. We're not susceptible to nature to a certain degree. We think we're above it, but we're not. But we're able to control the elements now more than ever. So we have running water, we have electricity, we have we have these things, right? We have antibiotics, which sometimes aren't so good, and we also have the downside of medicine. But our own. So what is the predator, so to speak? The predator of humanity that keeps humanity unconscious spiritually, is the Matrix influence to a large degree, to probably the highest degree. Okay, and so that's what the Matrix is here, is to keep people as unconscious, and then you're a slave, right? And then you're working for them. But I don't think that their role is just for you to work for them. In the Matrix, the part of the machines in the Matrix is to turn man into a battery. The battery feeds the machines, right? The bioenergy is fed off into the machines. Okay, so in a way, the spirit of human beings is fed by, is consumed by, right, the Matrix, the entities of the Matrix, if you will. Okay, and that's the prey. But now also what you have on not just a spiritual level anymore, because that lasted for some time, but now you're also dealing with a problem on a physical level. So you're dealing with a population growth, right? An overpopulation in the world to a certain degree, because majority of people wanting to live in cities, okay, and are driven to be living in cities and dependent on city life, and city life is not sustainable, and we know that. And one of the biggest problems on the world, if not the biggest problem, before climate change, if there is such a problem, before any sort of, viruses running around or something like that, which is a whole nother discussion, is too many people. There's just too many people on the planet. Now, that's not up to me to decide, thank heavens. That's not my business, right? That's not my business. But I know that it is the business of the people that see the world as a business. And they see that this is not sustainable. And they say, we have a problem on our hands here. So the Matrix has come in, whatever. So it's control. But so besides for that, so now what I think is going on to a large degree with these needles that they wanting to roll out, whatever it is, and these whatever it is an inoculation, right, of the species. That sounds absolutely terrible, and it's horrific. It's horrific, and it's really shocking. But the thing is that, here's the thing, right, is that majority of people, unknowing to themselves, will take it upon themselves to take the needle, will volunteer for it, will volunteer for to sterilize themselves, if you get what I'm saying. That's what they'll volunteer to do. They'll stand up and say, I'm first in line. I want it. Right? Can I have it, please? A lot of people. And this is what happened because, most people are in love with their masters. Right? They don't know what they're doing. And they're going to meet their demise in that way because they know not what they do. You see, and so they're gullible and they believe and they trust blindly. and they don't follow the right God. Because if they follow the right God of consciousness, of intuition, then they would realize what is not to be trusted. And they wouldn't be under the spell of the magicians. They wouldn't be under the matrix control. And so, essentially, it's not the matrix per se that is controlling us. It's ourselves that's controlling ourselves. And we are controlling one another at the same time, to a large degree. Do your part. Wear your mask. Stand apart. Don't visit granny. Whatever it might be, Don't speak out. We're not allowing each other to be free. So we are doing it to ourselves. So we are a species that has turned against ourselves. There is a civil breakdown amongst ourselves, more so now than ever. And so the war is being unconscious. The war is on your freedom, is on the sovereign freedom of the individual. That's the war. And that goes to show that in this adventure of life, that one of the most pinnacle parts of life, of the existence of this life, of the purpose of this life, is for the individual, or for the person, the human being, to find their spirit, to bring forth that which is from within them. This is the opportunity here, on this planet here. Because in other dimensions, or the life after this, or on the astral realms or something like that, we don't get this kind of opportunity. We don't get to know how to be, we don't get to have the experience of being removed from godliness, being removed from heaven, if you will, being removed from the heavy nature of this duality. This world is designed primarily for the human evolution, for the human, if you want to call it whatever it is, from matter into spirit, from mind, mentor, I think it is, into spirit. So that's what's at key here. That's what's at stake. That's what's at play here. That's what it's all about. It's all about you. It's all about you. What a magnificent situation this is, that it's all about you. How personal that is. How intimate it really is. How this whole thing has been orchestrated just for you. There's a song by Coldplay that comes to mind. Look at the stars, see how they shine for you. It's your universe. It's your world. The sun shines for you, the birds sing for you, the grass grows for you, your heart pumps for you. The matrix is here for you. I mean, it sounds terrible. These experiences are here for us. And not for us as a collective. Although it does serve as a collective, and our actions and our level of consciousness, of course, impacts positively or negatively on the whole. Of course, there are consequences, there are ramifications. So we are involved. But it's a personal affair. It's an intimate affair. And so the strongest relationship, the most personal relationship that one can have, is with themselves first and foremost. And then you can say nature and the mystery, and then you can say God, and then you can say your husband or your wife or your child, or something or other. But you can't jump that. You can't bypass the relationship with yourself. Like I said, you will only know what is true when you know your own truth. When you know your own truth and what is real. Now, these are hard. Then you will be able to see. How does one unblind themselves from the matrix? How is the one that one sees what's going on? Is that they see the inauthenticity in themselves. First and foremost, they see the blindedness in themselves. They see how they're playing a character and a role and a personality, like I mentioned before in my talk that I'm just uploading now. They're playing a character on a screen. They've adopted a mask, a personality, if you will. And that's what they've been driven by. So they don't know who they are. They're separated from themselves. It's an illusion. It's a Maya. You see, and here's the thing, is that, again, this is for another talk, which I really wanted to do a few weeks ago. Now it's kind of, rolled on by without me having to. It's about the imagination. Is that this is all imagination. This is all imagination. This world. We live. What is the Matrix? The Matrix is a hijacking of the imagination and turning the imagination into its world, into its dimension, into its universe. It hijacks your own universe, your internal relationship with yourself, your relationship with the divine, with God, with nature, with animals, with other human beings, whatever it is. It hijacks all of that and creates an imagination in your mind. What does it mean in your mind? This is a prison for your mind. What does he mean? What does Morpheus mean when he says a prison for your mind? He's saying that we've locked you in your imagination. We have infiltrated and taken over your imagination. We have dumped things into your psyche, into your subconscious, right? That your imagination is now manifesting and you believe is real. You see, they're using the most powerful tool on the planet, the most powerful device on the planet that there possibly is, right? I would say, very, very powerful. And they've used it, against us. They've manipulated the imagination. Television is television. It's tell a story. They're storytellers. And this is a story that we're living in a way, but so, the imagination can be like religion, infiltrates and takes over. It gives you the imagination, tells you, well, this is how you got to imagine God to be, or what God wants from you, or what God needs from you, or why God created you, or something like that. I don't know, for me, I'm Jewish. I was told, I imagine myself to be a chosen person, but chosen in the fact that I was chosen above other religions. So I imagine that, I imagined the story of literally of Noah and the flood of Noah, but it didn't exist, as it said. Abraham and Eve, it doesn't necessarily exist. It's symbolic. So most of it is just fairy dust. Most of it doesn't exist. I don't know, I suppose I'm getting it into it now. This is a bit of a talk that's going all over this show. I wanted to do another talk called When Those Towers Fell. Now, you know what, when I'm talking about those towers, those buildings, when those buildings fell, why do you know what I'm talking about? Because it was such a significant event. It was such a significant event. And the biggest problem is that I was looking at it about a few days ago, that the very impossible, the unscientific happened in front of the world's eyes. And very, very few people disagreed with what they saw. Although what they saw was a fiction. Right? But they were told that what they saw was real. But it was a fiction. It was an impossibility. It was an impossibility. It's like Santa on his, Santa comes in the sky with his reindeers and his, what do you call it? The thing, the reindeer and his cart, whatever it is. I don't know. And he literally comes and create imagination of Santa. But I'm just saying the most impossible things. Those, if you believe that, you see that was the magic trick. Is that if they can get you to believe that, right? That for that to be true, then they can convince you that this current story now with this, virus story is real. No matter how absurd it seems, no matter how much smoke there is, no matter how much fire there is, you have been hypnotized, most people have a long time ago, to believe. You see, so it's a make-believe. If you looked at the movie The Never-Ending Story, it's make-believe. They're talking about the whole world is basically the imagination. And the nothing is consuming Fantasia in The Never-Ending Story. It's eating because people have given up on hope and faith. And whatever it is, and that's what's happened here. And people have put their hope and their faith in the wrong area. They've told that they've imagined a problem. We've been told to imagine. Like now, I've heard Fauci say, like, act as if you have it. They tell us how to be actors. They want us to be actors. Again, actors so we lose who we are. Actors in a screen. Actors in a play. Characters. And use the imagination. The American dream. Use the imagination. Right? I mean, imagine yourself as a god. Imagine yourself as a celebrity, as a rock star. Imagine yourself as sexy. Imagine yourself but again, as rich. These manifestations, even the law of attractions. Imagine. And the imagination is very powerful. And the imagination can be used for good, or it can be used for bad. Like there's white magic and there's black magic, so to speak. There's much more that I want to say on the imagination, but what's happened is that our trauma, because we've been traumatized by culture and society and by religion, the trauma is being fed by and projected by the psyche, into the world. You see, it's the imagination, because that's the problem, is that we haven't really done the healing that we need to heal. So we, for example, imagine ourselves to be worthy of, we're sinful, let's say because religion has told us we're sinful, or we felt sinful in our own lives, or we've been told that we were nothing, or we're told that we just got in the way and, problematic, and we're told that we didn't fit in. We're told that we weren't good enough, or sexy enough, or good looking enough, or sporty enough, or whatever it is, or told that we were. And so we imagined a version of ourselves, which was, we conjured up an image of ourselves, which is like a golem, which is a freak, which is a Frankenstein. An image of ourselves, which is part of the imagination. This is who we imagine ourselves to be in the light of the world and how the world sees us subconsciously. We're imagining that. And so instead of processing that imagination, getting back into that and stopping the process of the imagination, just like how when we dream at night, the imagination, I'm saying the subconscious or something else, portrays the dream world that we walk in and we believe it's real at that time. And it's filled with all the content of our subconscious. All of the content of our subconscious in a subliminal way, it comes out in our dreams. And so too is our subconscious and our projecting in the imagination is being projected. In the imagination is being projected, right? This self-image that we have of ourselves, or this relationship that we need to have to our friends, to the world, to God, to nature, to animals, whatever it is. It's all imagination. But it's the imagination from the traumatized self, from the inauthentic self. So we can't imagine heaven on earth. We can't imagine it. We can imagine a hell on earth, yes. I mean, the movies that are all about violence, corruption, greed, drugs, manipulation, did I say murder, rape? It's just horrific, horrible. And they just feed it to us all the time. The music, they feed it to us all the time. The Matrix is within us, and we are imagining it into this world. And that's what we are creating. We are the manifestors of the Matrix. We are the creators of the Matrix, fundamentally. Because we don't, again, think about those towers when those towers fell. We saw with our very eyes that that was impossible. That when, a building is on fire at the top, that it's impossible that a building implodes, that it has a pancake effect. It's impossible. No matter how much it's impossible. But people believed it and said that these magicians did something. Well, we didn't know that they were magicians doing it, but that this is, so they bent reality. They bend it reality. You see? And so if they can bend that reality, they bend it all the time. And they've bent this whole world into a matrix that we have manifested, that we continuously manifest. If we stop manifesting it, if we stop being traumatized, if we stop allowing the imagination for us to fulfill the imagination with dark entities and dark forces and fears and things like that, it'll all disappear. It'll all go away. Viruses will vanish. Right? The desire, it will vanish. I think murder will vanish. Because we'll be doing the healing within ourselves. Why is there murder? Why is there pain? Why is there hurt that we cause to other people? It's because we ourselves are hurt. We are broken. We are split off from the true self. Right? We are split off from the true self. So we imagine causing pain to each other and enjoy it. We wouldn't be hurting the animals of this planet. We wouldn't be, but we are fractured within ourselves. And those fractured parts of who we are, the fractured elements of ourselves, right, are broken and rejected and divided, if that makes sense. And so and each one of them has almost got like a life of its own. And it's breeding into the imagination. That's why I think sometimes with like certain types of psychosis, like schizophrenia, on some levels, like the person believes that they are the Messiah. I used to have a friend of mine who believed that he was the Messiah. Why? Why do you imagine? Why does the psyche imagine themselves to be a character that is more Machiavellian, that is more larger than life? It's to escape the inferiority and the traumatized self and the disassociated self that lies within. I mean, that's my theory. That's my theory, is that we imagine ourselves to be these characters, right, in order, as a coping mechanism. Like, if I feel that I'm somebody powerful, I feel like I'm Jesus. And they're convinced of it, that they are Jesus, the living Jesus. It's often these spiritual characters. Why? Because these people are, larger than life characters. So it's the self, it's something or other fragmented, trying to envision something about itself, something that's so much higher and therefore can feel safe. Because the divided person, the fractured individual, the traumatized individual is insecure, is disconnected, is uncertain, is hypnotized, is mind controlled, is traumatized. We're getting deep here, but that's what it is. And so it creates this coping mechanism, this personality, right? And then the ego, and then but the imagination starts again getting out of hand and getting out of control. And that's what you got on this planet, is imaginations that have run wild or running amok. You got imaginations which are egos the size of cathedrals. You got imaginations running the show. Egos that are perpetuating, projecting into the imagination that I am a rock star. I am a guru. I have so many followers. You know, all the little girls really, I mean, all the young ladies really like me, or something like that. Or I'm a shaman. But how many of these so-called people are genuine, are sincere? They're not. Look at the presidents of this world. Look what grandiose figures they really are. I mean, who do they think they are? That they can do the job. The one individual, the small team of people can do this job. How do you be so grandiose to feel that you can take on the responsibility? Look, I don't think it's really their choice, and they're just actors at the same time. But I'm just saying, in the world that we live in, what's presented to the public, what's presented to us, right? What we see are these characters, these larger than life characters. You know, these who we influenced by. You know, we imagine ourselves to be gangsters. We imagine ourselves to be DJs and hip hop artists and whatever it is, or artists, or poets, or musicians. When we a lot of the time we're not. We're just really crap. But we imagine ourselves to be freedom fighters, freeing of the people. You know, when we can't even free ourselves. You know, so the imagination that can be influenced and empowered by light. That's what a healthy way of using the imagination is with light, not with dark, and with the soul and the spirit, not with the ego, and not with the inauthentic self. You know, not with the shadow, not with that which lies within the shadow. We're very, very powerful beings, powerful beyond measure. We have no idea. You know, most of us rather want to keep it that way. It's more comfortable to play it small. It's more comfortable to waste our lives than it is to make the most of our lives. You know, it really is. Alright, folks. I'm sure maybe only 4 or 5 of you potentially have made it this far. I just hope that I'm not talking to myself. But whatever, I've done my part, you know. I've done my part, and I can feel okay about that. I can feel good about that. That I've showed up and done my part. Even though right now I might be talking to myself. But I know the heavens hear me, and I know that it's not in vain. Alright folks, take care, be well.